Hi there, this is Dr. Rishi from the Learners Academy, and today we are going to talk about number system. So when we use numbers can be categorized in different types, and then we can, so whenever we learn numbers, we categorize them into different types. So there are basically 10 numbers that we have: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They combine together to form the other numbers that are there. So let us go ahead and talk about different type of numbers that we study in mathematics. So the first type of number that we study in mathematics are natural numbers. Natural numbers are numbers that are used to count things. So say 5 mangoes or 3 bananas or 12 eggs. So all these numbers would be considered as natural numbers. Natural numbers don't have a zero in them. So it is one, they start from 1 and then they go to positive infinity. Now, if we add 0 to natural numbers, we call the group of numbers as whole numbers. Now let's make a note of this as well. So first we have natural numbers. So the group of natural numbers, now in mathematics, if we have a group of something, we call it a set. A set is a completely different topic. We would be having a different video on sets in future, but for the time being, just understand that in mathematics, if we have a group of certain numbers, we would call them as a set. So natural numbers, so we have a set of natural numbers is denoted by capital N, and it can be written as 1, 2, 3. It would go on till infinity. So it would start from 1 and go to infinity. Then we will have whole numbers. Whole numbers, the set of whole numbers is denoted by a W, and in whole numbers we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and we go to positive infinity. So we have natural numbers and we have whole numbers. Now let us consider integers. The next set or the next group of numbers that we have are integers. So they are going to be, basically what we do is we keep on adding something to the previous group. So in this group we have integers. In integers we have all the negative numbers and we would have all the positive numbers. The set of integers is generally denoted by a I or a Z. So in some books it's written as I, in some books it's written as Z. So you shouldn't get confused. It means one and the same thing, that is set of integers. So those we can start with ... telling us that they are coming all the way from negative infinity and going all the way. So we can have -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3 to positive infinity. So we don't have a starting point, a defined starting point. We don't have a defined ending point for integers. Now, so these are all complete numbers. So there are no decimals, no fractions up until now. Okay. So if numbers are divided, then we do get decimals and we do get fractions. So we had to come up with a group of numbers which would include these fractions and decimals as well. So these are all integers. So we can have another group which are not integers. So we'll call them as non-integers. So we can have non-integers. So non-integers are numbers that are not integers. Like it's literally meaning not integers. We don't have a specific name for this group of numbers, but then it is easy to understand that they are not integers. So we can have say minus 1 upon 3 or 1 upon 4 or 3 upon 5 or 7 upon 12, and we can have anything in it, be it negative, be it positive. As long as it's not included in the set of integers, then we'll call them as non-integers. Now, if I include the integers and the non-integers together, then the group of numbers that I am going to get is called as rational numbers. So the next group that we are going to study is rational numbers. So the next group we have is rational numbers. Rational numbers is generally denoted as Q. The group of rational numbers, we'll call it as Q. Okay, so they are going to be all the integers and all the non-integers taken together. So effectively it would be anything that can be written in the form of P upon Q or one number A upon B for that matter, where the denominator can't be 0. Because in mathematics, if the denominator is 0, then the whole division would not be defined. So we can have a set of rational numbers starting from infinity, then we can have maybe minus 5 by 2, then we can have 2, minus 2, then we can have 3, minus 3 by 2, then we can have so I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. Everything in between these two would still be in the set of rational numbers. So we can have minus 1, then further we can have it as minus 1 by 2, then 0, then 1 by 2, then 1, then 3 by 2, and it would go all the way till plus infinity. Now I have kept 2 as my denominator in all the cases, so that we can have one particular denomination and we would be able to write it nicely. However, the numbers between these numbers would also be included. So whenever we define the set of rational numbers, we generally write them as P upon Q, where Q is not equal to 0. So as long as the number can be defined in the form of P upon Q, where the denominator is not equal to 0, then we will call such a number as a rational number. Now, what if the number is not a rational number? If the number is not a rational number, then it is called as an irrational number. Just like non-integers, these are called as irrational, literally meaning not rational. So if a number is not rational, then we will call it as irrational numbers. So what are these irrational numbers? These are the numbers that cannot be put as a fraction, or we cannot define them as fractions. So let us have a number, say root 2. So let me first write this. Irrational numbers are generally defined as Q bar. Q bar is a notification, or bar notification is there to define something that is not. So we can say that it is not Q, literally meaning they are not included in the set of rational numbers. So we can write it, say A. Now they can also start from minus infinity, and we can have them anything, say for instance a minus root 2 or root 2 or root 3 or root 5, so on and so forth. So these numbers are can never be put in the form of P upon Q. So they are called as rational numbers. Now there are two, they are called so they are never put in the form of P upon Q. So they are called as irrational numbers. Now there are two ways in which we can have rational numbers and irrational numbers defined. One of them we've already discussed, whether it's P upon Q and whether it can be put in the form of P upon Q or not. Now, if a number is put in the form of P upon Q, then it can have there can be two outcomes. If we divide one number by another number, either the division would terminate or the division would not terminate. That is, the division would keep on going forever. Now, if the division keeps on going forever, that is, it is a non-terminating division, then it can either be repeating itself or non-repeating itself. Now, if it is repeating, we call it as recurring decimals, and if it is non-repeating, then we'll call it as non-recurring decimals. So, if the division happens and the division is recurring or it is terminating, then it is going to be a rational number. However, if we do the division and it is non-terminating and non-recurring at the same time, then in that case the number we are going to get is going to be a irrational number. So how are we going to figure out whether the given number is rational or irrational? First thing, we will see whether it can be put in the form of P upon Q. If it can be, then it's a rational number. If it cannot be, then it's an irrational number. Second, we are going to check if we do the division, whether the division is recurring or non-recurring. First, whether it is terminating or non-terminating, and then whether, if it is non-terminating, then whether it is recurring or non-recurring. So if it is non-terminating, non-recurring, then only we will call it as the irrational number. Now, when all these numbers are taken together, then we call that group of numbers as set of real numbers. And this is a very funny term to call something set of real numbers. So real numbers, when I say real numbers, it includes, so it is defined as R, and it is a set of everything. So we would have natural numbers, we would have whole numbers, we would have integers, and we would have rational numbers and also irrational numbers. So everything taken together would be called as set of real numbers. So effectively, if we can just write all the rational numbers and irrational numbers taken together, then they would be considered as real numbers. Now actually, it's a very funny name to name it as real numbers, but we've named them real numbers because in maths we also have something called as imaginary numbers. Now imaginary numbers is a pretty complicated topic, and it is taught in standard 11th only. So we would have a separate video about imaginary numbers, but for the time being you should understand that there is something called as imaginary numbers, and if a number is not real, then we are going to call it as imaginary number. Okay, so far we have discussed all the different type of numbers that we use in mathematics. So when we have number system, the first thing that we need to understand is what kind of numbers we are talking about. Okay, so we have natural numbers, whole numbers, integers, non-integers. Integers and non-integers coming together into would be called as rational numbers. If a number is not rational, then we'll call it as irrational numbers. Rational numbers and irrational numbers together would be taken as real numbers, and if the numbers are not real, then they are going to be called as imaginary numbers. So set of numbers can be categorized in all these in all these ways, in all these groups, and each of these groups is special we are going to deal with them in separate videos for each one of the groups. Okay, so that was about number systems for today. This is Dr. Rishi from the Learners Academy. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. Please do share this video with your friends who need help with mathematics. Do subscribe to our channel so you are updated with our most recent content. This was Dr. Rishi from the Learners Academy signing out. Thank you.